Alright, welcome back, peeps. Today is Tuesday, December 9th, and everything I'm about to discuss is in my opinion only, so take it with a grain of salt. So let's dive in. Title is The Final Days of 2025, The Silver Squeeze, Tariff Trillions, and the Future of Global Banking. So, welcome back, Dinarlanders. It's literally the final stretch of 2025, and the chessboard just got flipped. We are watching the end of one financial era and the birth of another in real time. Buckle up, this one's going to be spicy, so let's get started with the metal that's screaming the loudest right now, and that would be silver. Alright, so I'm going to be throwing a lot of information at you right away. So I'm trying to use a script that I put in AI, all the stuff that I gathered, and we're going to see how it goes. So at the end of the video, let me know if you like it. Let me know if you like the format, and we'll going forward, we'll see if we can streamline it. Just to address some comments I get. I'm monotone. I have dyslexia. This is all you get. I'm not flamboyant and charismatic like Frank and some of the other ones. So if that bothers you, I'm sorry. But if not, then we'll dive in and get going. Okay, so the other day, Bish Bosh, my man, sent me a little 3-piece video from TikTok about silver, and what's not being reported in the mainstream media, even on Twitter, is the shortage of silver right now, because everyone's calling their shorts, and the banks of the world are scrambling to get silver so that they can cover their shorts. So we are having a definite shortage of physical silver. And if you don't hold it, you don't own it. So, it's definitely driving up the price of silver and affecting the metal market for sure. So, all right. So, this was earlier this morning that I gathered this information. But silver was at $58.55 an ounce. I do believe it hit over 60 at the time of this recording. And that's not a random spike. The Silver Institute confirmed we are on track for a 95 million ounce deficit in 2025, and we're in 2025, the fifth straight year. So, meanwhile, gold sits at $41.95. The metal market is insane right now. So, let's see what's going on. Trying to keep my place. Meanwhile, the gold sits at $41.95 an ounce, quietly reminding everyone that the U.S. owns more physical gold than any nation on Earth. And I still have not seen a Fort Knox inventory check. I doubt that anyone else has either. So we'll see. So when the tariff trillions start rolling in, and we'll get to that in a second, the gold becomes the ultimate collateral backstop. And speaking of tariffs, President Trump, now playing 5D chess again, just dropped a quote of the year that next year is projected to be the largest tax refund season ever. Because we're literally taking in trillions of dollars in tariffs. So we'll let that sink in for a second. Let's see. So tariffs so big that, quoting him, it could replace the income tax. So that's massive. I'm not going to break into my Trump impersonation this time because I'm fighting allergies. But it was definitely massive and huge. So I'm looking forward to that. All right, so moving on to when I got up this morning to start writing and collecting information for this podcast, I was diving into the correlation between Iraq and Vietnam, because we've heard, and this is how circle tail works, for years, that Vietnamese dong and Iraqi dinar are commingled, and I've even been guilty of circulating that circle tail again. But after diving into this morning and reading up on it, it's not entirely false statement, but it's just different. So the Iraqi dinar and the Vietnamese dong are not directly commingled together, but the economy of Iraq and the economy of Vietnam are somewhat commingled and intertwined. So a secondhand or a direct correlation to their economies is their currency. So like twice removed, their currencies are somewhat commingled. But so how is Vietnam and Iraq's currency tied together? It's inadvertently tied together because it really, from the information that Grok pulls from documents that it can see, which none of them are going to say, because it's all a conspiracy on our part, that that the dinar rate's going to go up to $4 and that's going to pull dong up to $2.25 or something like that. So being that there's no documents out there, Grok can't pull that information, so it can only tell us what it knows. So the economies of Vietnam and Iraq are connected through bilateral trade, investments, diplomatic efforts to expand cooperation, particularly in agriculture and infrastructure and energy. While the overall trade volume remains modest relative to the total exports, Vietnam at $424 billion and Iraq at $107 billion in 2003 or 23, it has shown steady growth. So, long story short, they're trading with each other. So, while that happens, and moving forward, Vietnam wants to get more oil and fuel and different oil-based things from Iraq, and in turn, Iraq wants more help with their agricultural and bringing in food to Iraq. So, as they are progressing forward, they are trading more and more back and forth with each other. So and this is the thing that I was trying to get Grok to tell me without telling me, is I gave it the question: if the Iraqi dinar revalued to significantly more or at $4, then how would that affect Vietnam's currency? And it wouldn't come out and tell me the answer I was looking for. So I had to dig deeper and kind of figure out that right now their economies are commingled. So as the value increases in Iraq, it's just going to exponentially increase everything with their economies back and forth. So therefore, all boats rise. It'll pull the value of the dong up with it. So the key component right now is that the dinar is pegged to the dollar, the US dollar. So in order for it to affect Vietnam and Indonesia, Venezuela, and the different countries that we're watching, it has to have the ability to depeg from the US dollar and then peg to the other individual currencies to see how it's going to affect their exchange rate. So that's one of the key things that we're watching for as we wrap up 25 and going into 26. And I believe that this is all going to be kind of a shotgun deal with when they finally are green lighted for the WTO and the WCO, they go international, it's tradable on Forex, all that stuff. I believe at that time we'll see it be able to depeg from the dollar, peg to Vietnam, and give us an exchange rate there, and so on and so forth. So basically that was the answer that Grok gave me on the IQD. Needs to be free to peg itself to other countries in order to affect the exchange rates of other nations. So that was pretty much the whole Vietnam, Iraq deal in a nutshell. I was hoping that it was going to go a different way and was going to give me more information, but again, with what Grok can pull from articles on the internet and different things, this was just a short and sweet version of something I was hoping was going to be more. So in other Iraqi news, we have the race for the prime minister. So on November 11th, we know Iraqi held its elections for the parliament, and then parliament chooses the next prime minister. So the top candidates, the first three are kind of in chronological order of what is tracking in Iraq. So number one, obviously, is Saddam. And, since Saddam Hussein, no other person in Iraq has done more to advance Iraq than Saddam, did back in the day. So Saddam is currently the prime minister and has been so since 2022. He led the Reconstruction and Development Coalition, and he created infrastructure gains and credited with infrastructure gains and balancing the Iran and U.S. ties. And therein lies the problem with Saddam, is he's trying to ride two horses. He's trying to stay in the good graces of the United States, but at the same time, he's staying loyal to his Iranian ties, and that's just not going to work. Moving forward into the future of Iraq, you have to have clear ties to the United States and what the United States wants. And the prime example of all this, is a poster child for this, is Syria. So the guy who's leading Syria is, yes man to Trump, and is doing everything that the United States wants, and he's reaping the benefits of that, as all Syria is. So that's the problem that Saddam is facing. Number 2 slot goes to Maliki. He's the old guard, former prime minister from 2006 to 2014. He was obviously a Bush family deep state agent, and he's credited with allowing the rise of ISIS in Iraq, and I'm sure other militias. The number 3 slot goes to Hamid al-Shatari. I hope I said that right. So this guy gives me the heebie-jeebies just because he's like the top guy for their intelligence and counterterrorism, and he knows where all the dead bodies are buried. So he chronologically is in the 3rd place spot, but he obviously, what little ground he has, he's losing. Now, number 4 is kind of at the bottom of the list, but I have a sneaking suspicion that this guy might be the one that gets it, just because he is very U.S. friendly, and I believe he will be the poster child that the United States is looking to place in that position. And his name is Jamal Mustafa. So Jamal Mustafa, and it goes into his long name. He's a prominent Sunni figure, and that's important. And he is the son-in-law of Saddam Hussein, another key factor. So this is the guy that I would keep my eye on. I believe that he probably will get the nod. Now, the interesting thing is So if a deadlock persists beyond December 11th, and that's just in a couple days, Mustafa could gain traction as a third way for a national unity government. So I think he's going to be the guy, the Iraqi Balboa that comes out from nowhere and wins the title. So definitely that's the hot topic in Iraq right now is the race to prime minister. So the last thing I'm going to touch on is, again with Iraq, is how is the ISO 20022 and Basel III impacting Iraqi's banking. So the Iraqi banking sector is dominated by state-owned giants like the Rafidain Bank and Rashid banks. Their biggest challenge is the legacy system, and oddly enough, there's all the ISO 20022 is the buzzword right now of 2025, but they have another ISO you may not have ever heard of, and it's the ISO 8583. So this system has been around for a long time. It's what their ATMs operate on. And anyone who up to this point was using credit card machines, the old swipe type, they are and were operating on the ISO 8583. So basically, you have the ISO 20022 is the future, and the future is now. It's here. But you still have all their ATMs and their old point of sale devices. They're still operating on the old ISO. So basically what they're having to do is go to third-party apps and software to bridge the gap until all these point of sale merchants and different places get the new ATMs put in and point of sale machines. So that is their biggest burden with legacy banks and small time banks. The challenge is they have a brick wall, probably the end of the year, I would imagine, to get on board with all the new technology, or they're going to be phased out. And some of those phased out could be not pretty. So the biggest challenges for them is modernization. And again, smaller banks surviving that phase out. So the impact of Basel III on Iraqi banking, surprisingly enough, Iraq has adopted Basel III since 2018. Now, not a full broad stroke, but there are, the CBI and the major banks have been working with the Basel III, since 2018. But now, I believe the brick wall for that is the end of the year. So, again, any of these smaller banks who are not compliant by December 31st, they're going to hit that brick wall and they're just not going to exist anymore. So, the battle of the two ISOs is the biggest challenge right now for the banking reforms that are going on in Iraq. We're seeing it in real time. And the brick wall is December 31st. So, I would love to see something before then, but I just don't think we're going to see anything until 2026. I think, in my opinion, I'm excited for Q1 26, as well as 2026 as a whole, because I do believe that it's going to be buckle up buttercup season. I think people, the normies out there and the sheep who they're not tracking any of this stuff, it's going to hit them like a 2x4 to the forehead. And there's going to be a lot of people that are very upset through this. But thankfully, we've been tracking on this for a long time, and I think it's going to work out well for us. So I know this was kind of a fast and furious video. I hope you were tracking with all this, and let me know what you think about the format in the comments. If you would, give me a like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell for all, because sometimes I do a post, or I'll do a live, or I'll do a short video That way you get notified for all of it. But as always, I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch these videos. You guys are the best, and I will catch you on the next one. Have a great day.